Welcome everyone to the second round of the GP4 Offline Championship 2012 season. We're here for the Malaysian Grand Prix at the Kuala Lumpur International Circuit. I am your host George Roke, and we are here for the second round of the season. The first round won by Florian Volker, just ahead of Viggo Holst after an enthralling race. So first of all, let's go over the race rating and the driver of the day. So the race rating was given a 7.7 out of 10, and the driver of the day, for an impressive 6th place on his debut in the series, went to Kirosima De Rosa, who finished 6th for Force India. And the tyre compound for this round of the season will be the hard tyre. In Malaysia, known for its monsoon weather and unpredictable monsoon weather, you could say, and also its very hot races. So even when it rains, the track will certainly dry a lot quicker than it would, say, in the UK, for example. But this should be an interesting race. 15 corners around the track, a number of overtaking spots. Turn 4 is an infamous spot to overtake at. Turn 1 as well, and also the last corner, turn 15, you could say as well. So this will be a very interesting race indeed. So here we are for the grid. So Miklos Gal is on pole position with Evan Byrne alongside him. Viggo Holst in 3rd place, followed by George Roke in 4th. 5th place is Florian Volker for Red Bull, followed by Felix Sonntag in 6th. Jay McKenzie 7th. Joseph Willows in 8th. Completing the top 8, and now we move on into 9th place. Waze Kuba, disappointing qualifying for both Ferraris in this case, followed by Rifki Farquharson in 10th for Sauber. Good qualifying from him, you could say. Robbie Inescu just narrowly beaten by his teammate in 11th, with Kirosima De Rosa in 12th place. 13th place is Sam Thompson, followed by Adam Wolf in 14th. And as we move further down the order, on to the 8th row of the grid is Amar Kar, followed by Sam Thompson's teammate Franco Gamba, who also scored an impressive 7th place in Australia on his debut, having won the GP2 Championship. 17th place is Alex Southgate, followed by Sean Grant in 18th for Virgin. That is the 9th row of the grid. As we move further on to the 10th row, we have Rella Moitian and Oliver Glazebrook, a disappointing qualifying for Williams. And on the last row of the grid, we have Roman Quag and Zachary Fitzwater, who unfortunately retired after getting involved in the first lap pilot with Waze Kuba on his debut and in front of his home crowd. He'll hope for better here. So now we will move on to the weather for the race. And as you can see, it will be dry at the start, but as you can see, after the hour mark, the track will noticeably get wetter. It will be light rain, so we'll see how that will have an impact, if it will rain hard enough for a fully wet race come the end. So this should be very fascinating to see, although I'm not sure what Malaysia brands as light rain though, but I suppose we'll see as the race goes on. But anyway, here we are now on the grid, 56 laps here at the Kuala Lumpur International Circuit. Miklos Gal's on pole with Evan Byrne in 2nd and Viggo Holst in 3rd. Who is going to get the jump going into turn 1? It's a long jump to turn 1. The 5 lights are on. And the lights are out, away we go, and both McLarens have made a fantastic start. Evan Byrne has already taken the lead from Gal, and the Renault there, I think that was of Jay McKenzie or George Roke. I think that may have been George Roke, makes a fantastic start as well. And it looks like Evan Byrne is going to take the lead easy, or is Gal going to stick it on the inside? I think he might do, but has Byrne got it for turn 2? And no, he doesn't, and Gal takes it back. And that is Felix Sonntag, who's moved up into 3rd place. He's made a great start as well. The 2 Renaults behind in 4th and 5th place as they now head towards turn 4. Looks like everyone has avoided contact so far, as now Gal heads, as now Evan Byrne is defending from Felix Sonntag in 2nd place. Is he going to make it stick Sonntag? No, he doesn't. Evan Byrne just about holds him off, and he is still in 2nd. Felix Sonntag in 3rd. The battle between the 2 Renaults for 4th and 5th. At the moment, it is Roke ahead of McKenzie, as now Sonntag is right behind Byrne. There's Roke in 5th, Volker 6th, Holst in 7th. Willows 8th, Kuba 9th, Inescu 10th. It was going so well for Holst. He was at the front, but he dropped all the way down to 7th despite all that. And there seems to already be a yellow flag. Something's already happened coming into turn 7. And what is happening? There's a car around, and it's Felix Sonntag who's spun around coming into turn 7. And oh dear me, that is not the start he would have wanted. He was running in 3rd, and he tried to make a move by the looks of it on Evan Byrne coming into turn 7. And unfortunately, that just never really was on there. And now he's just lost a ton of time, and as Sonntag, he actually drops right to the back, so now he'll have to make a lot of progress from there as he rejoins. But that is already the start that he would not have wanted, as we look at Roke, Volker and Willows. And Willows has lost, and both Ferraris have lost debris, and Inescu has lost his front wing as well, and something has happened going into turn 10. So what on earth has happened there? Both Ferraris missing parts of their bodywork. So was Robbie Inescu involved? Let's have a look. So here's Kuba, and there's Robbie Inescu behind, and Inescu just goes into the back, and that's the McLaren. That's Viggo Holst who's been hit, and Viggo Holst is out of this race. He finished second in his first race from McLaren, but Viggo Holst is going to see no further. And Robert Ionescu, a pretty poor piece of driving there, just not good at all. Just goes right into the back of the Ferrari, uses them as a brake. And unfortunately for Holst, he gets hit by both Ferraris, and that means that he is out of the race, as we can see. So it seems to be okay, but Ionescu, for some reason, just doesn't slow down. And then just goes into him there, and actually Willows, I think Willows made contact actually, even with Holst, even before Ionescu went into the back of Kuba there. So actually Willows was technically the one that actually took Holst out, but well, I mean that still doesn't concede the fact that Ionescu is, I suppose, the main party to blame for that one, but that is not what he needed at all. So now they all have to pit for a new wing, as you can repair rear wings in this game, as there's a massive traffic jam coming into turn 14, as Holst's car will get pushed away, and that is him out the race, and not what he would have wanted at all. Nicolas Gal has the lead as he comes around turn 15, and the Renault and Mackenzie tries to make a move on Byrne into the last corner. He can't quite make a stick, it's very, very close there, but now George Roque is following close behind as well, as Nicolas Gal, no surprise, sets the fastest lap of the race. As they now come down towards turn 1, is Mackenzie going to try and make a move? And now Volker's going to make a move on Roque behind for 4th place. And is he going to do it? He does. And is Mackenzie going to make a move on Byrne for 2nd? And is he going to do it? He's still side by side as they come through turn 2. And they head through turn 3. But it looks like Mackenzie has got it. And he does, in fact, take 2nd place. And now Byrne's under pressure from Volker behind. And Roque, who got overtaken by Volker, will he try and make a move? As Robbie Ionescu is out of the race there. So something else has happened on the lap while we were looking at the front. Southgate there just coming across the line as the two Ferraris pitting, but Willis is going to be affected by that. So something else has happened on the straight to Ionescu that we haven't seen. So where was he? He was running in 16th place, and he gets hit by the Virgin there of Grant, and he goes into Southgate, who manages to get away without damage there. But Ionescu has yet to complete a lap of the series so far. Just, unfortunately for Grant, just goes into the back of him there as they were all trying to overtake him. That is not what he would have wanted at all. And you can see, unfortunately, just Grant goes in the back, and Ionescu then goes into Southgate, who somehow, as I said, avoids any damage at all there. So we're on board with Ionescu getting overtaken by the cars, and Southgate's just an innocent passenger in that. And I'm just still amazed how Southgate's not got any damage there. But Sontag has been known to avoid damage, such as, well, both Mercedes seem to be made of something which makes them not get any damage whatsoever. I mean, we saw with Sontag in Australia where he went into the, well, he actually got hit, I should say, in the back by Joseph Willows, and yet he somehow avoided any damage, whereas Willows had a broken front wing. As now the Ferrari pit crew come out for Willows, who has been held up behind Kuba. It's just been an absolute disastrous start to the season so far for Ferrari. It has not gone their way whatsoever, and Willows, I wouldn't be surprised if he's actually lapped soon, because, I mean, the crew still haven't even got a new fresh set of tyres yet. Oh my goodness me. And for Willows, I think any chance of points, really, in this race, you could say, is probably over. At this point, the only thing you can probably hope for is a number of retirements. Well, that is the only thing that he will be able to rely on. And as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he is lapped soon, as there seems to be a front wing, and well, now everything seems to be joined to the car. 50 seconds as there's Gal coming around the final corner, as now here is Roque behind Volker and Byrne, coming down the back straight, as Mackenzie now sets the fastest lap in P2, so he's now going to try and go after Gal. And now here comes Florian Volker on the inside of Byrne, coming into turn 1. Does he make the move stick, as Gamba sets the fastest lap, interestingly, for Toro Rosso? And Volker does make it stick, and so does Roque. He gets past as well, and as Roque comes down, he's right behind Volker as he comes down through turn 3 and now towards turn 4. And now Roque is right behind Volker as he tries to make a move into turn 4. Volker defends. Roque is on the inside. Is Roque going to make it stick? It's side by side, and Roque goes around. There's contact made. Volker gets away with it and rejoins in P4. Byrne has moved up to third. Gone to third now. Sam Thompson is somehow in 5th, and Gamba's in 6th. How have they got so far up the field? But for Roque, it's an absolute disastrous move, and he's now rooted to the back. And he rejoins down in, I think it was like 17th, 18th place, I think. It was 17th place, in fact. But we'll have a look at the replay of that again, as Roque was right behind Volker coming into turn 4. And you can see Volker just forced him out a bit, but Roque was on the inside. But unfortunately, there was just no room there, and contact was made, and Roque goes around. And Evan Byrne goes back up to third with that, and that allows Gal and Mackenzie up front to get even further away. As Volker lucky not to get any damage there, and neither car really lucky to get any damage there. But now Sam Thompson is right behind Volker, and what a start he's made, and he almost actually tries to get past Volker coming through turn 5. But now Roke does rejoin in 17th place. Willows way down in 20th, nearly a lap down thanks to that very, very long pit stop. Mackenzie in second, now going to go after him. As now here we are looking at the two Toro Rossos. Here is Gamba behind Thompson for P5. Two Toro Rossos fighting each other. Sam Thompson, who didn't score any points last season. As now Volker is trying to make a move on Evan Byrne for third, and now Gamba's trying to make a move on Thompson for P5. And he's done it, and he's through into P5. Good move there. And now Gamba is attacking Evan Byrne for P4. And is he going to make it stick? And yes, he does. What a race Franco Gamba is having at the moment. And he makes it stick as he now come into turn 2. And what a move there is by Franco Gamba. But it looks like Evan Byrne is going to be on a one stop because he's got a lot of fuel on board. And it looks like he's dropping away quite far. And Alex Southgate spun off. And that is at turn 7, I think. And it is. And it was a collision, it looks like, with the Roman car. Just goes right into the back of him there. Just a really, really silly move. It's just never really on. And, well, I think it was going way too quick there and just stopped the car. And Alex Southgate does have to wait for 2 other cars to go through. They were George Roke and Oliver Glazebrook. And he now dropped down to 17th places. Now Roke trying to get past Glazebrook coming into the hairpin. Can't quite make it stick, but now Roke is trying to get past on the back straight. It's side by side. Is Roke going to make the move stick? And yes, he does. As he now goes into the final corner. And Roke makes the move for P15. But that's not where he will want to be at the end of the race. He'll hope to try and hopefully get some points. But it seems a bit of a long ask. As now here's a battle. I think this is for the lead actually between Gal and Volker. And I should say Gal and Mackenzie. And Mackenzie has made it stick for P1. What a move that is by Jay Mackenzie. He's shown some incredible pace so far. So the fuel, let's have a look at. So the fuel the Volker's on is 26 laps. I'd be interested to see what Mackenzie's fuel is. But he seems to have an incredible amount of pace. And then the run is quite good. And Lotus I should say. And cars around. Coming into turn 7. That looks like it's going to be a spot for a lot of incidents there. But Carr is now around. And he rejoins down in P13. Unlucky 13, some would say. He tried to make the move over Byrne, didn't quite stick, and does Byrne stay on the track? Yes, he does, so he gets away actually quite lightly with that. But as you can see, he has 30 laps of fuel, so he has a lot of laps. So it looks like he probably is going to go for the one stop, which I'm not sure necessarily if that's going to work, depending on how much rain comes. As Carr comes out right ahead of Roman Quagg, Roke, and Southgate, and he defends there. When Quagg, and there was more contact there, and Quagg nearly goes around. And Roke now trying to make a move on Quagg, as now there's Southgate getting involved as well. Fights all throughout the field so far in this race. It's been quite a good race so far. As now Jay Mackenzie does come in, so he did have a very light fuel load, so it looks like he's going to go for the 3-stop. I'll be interested to see if that works out, but he has shown some pace, and he's 6.2 seconds ahead of Gal. But maybe he could have tried to go maybe a few more laps, you could say, maybe 2 or 3. See if he had a bigger gap in front. But we'll see if this 3-stop works out for Lotus or not. As Mackenzie now comes out of the pits. And let's see where he will come out on track. And he comes out in P4. P5 actually I should say. As now George Roke, I think, has he had another incident here? It looks like he might have done. As he's now dropped down to 18th, and he has had another incident. And who is this with? And it is with Armar Carr. Unbelievably, those two have collided yet again. And Roke goes for a big spin there, I have to say. But that is not what those two wanted. They've had numerous collisions in 2011, and unfortunately that has continued so far this year. They had a collision in Australia, as we know, which Roke was eliminated in, and that denied both a chance of points. And now Roke is joined right back into last place. That is not what he would have wanted at all. It's just not been a good start to the season, you could say, for Roke either. Although I suppose for him anyway, and for many drivers, it's better than Robbie Nescu, who has had 2 DNFs so far and not even completed a lap. So now here is Sam Thompson and Felix Sontag, both in the pits on the same lap. As now Thompson comes in for his stop. The pit stops obviously are notably quicker this year. Let's see how quick this stop will be. 6.3 for Sontag, 7 for Thompson, as they both come out of the pits. And Sontag comes out, they're both going to come out nearish the back. Thompson comes out in P15, and Sontag will come out, it looks like, in P16. And as there's a battle between Roke and Glazebrook once again for 17th place, coming down the front straight. So I wonder who has won that battle. Now here we look at Waze Cooper, who's right behind Roman Quag, coming into turn 4. Is he going to make it stick? And no, there was contact there. And Cooper has made the move stick, and Quag going a bit slowly there. A bit of contact there for him. So turn 4, noticeably a whole number of incidents already. We've only been 13 laps. Imagine what's going to happen in the next, for the next bit of the race, or for the rest of the race, I should say. And you can see there was contact there, and it nearly lifted Cooper's car in the area. I think it might have lifted Quag's car as well. But they've both got away with damage, and they both go along their way. Although Cooper went to try and get some points from this race. It's been pretty much a disaster for Ferrari this season. They've not really shown very good pace. It's mainly been between McLaren and Red Bull, and you could say in a way Lotus. They have shown some encouraging pace this year, but they haven't had the luck that I suppose McLaren and Red Bull have had. As we look at Quag and Cooper, and oh, there's a car once again in turn 7, and that is Rivki Fargrazane, who has spun there, and looks like, is this by his own accord? And it is. Wolf wasn't anywhere near him, and Rivki Fargrazane makes the first driver error himself, and he goes around by himself. Lucky that he went in between Moitian and the Force India there of De Rosa. But that's quite an awkward place he's in. Fortunately, all the cars could see he was round there, managed to avoid contact. But now Fargrazane will drop right to the back. Not a result that he would have wanted so far, as he will now rejoin in last place. He has to wait for all the cars to go by, and now he can rejoin. And there he goes, the little donut, and gets going. As now Franco Gamba comes in for his first stop. So I'll be interested to see if Gamba does go for the 3-stop. He's gone obviously a bit later than what Mackenzie has done, so we'll see how that impacts him later on in the race. So he comes in 10. Is that 18? No, that's not 10. That's 18 laps of fuel. I do apologise. 18 laps, and it's a 6.1 second stop. So it looks like. Just thinking about my calculations. I think by my calculations, it probably will be a 3-stop. I reckon. I'd be surprised if it isn't, but. We'll see how Gamba can go on that set of tyres, and obviously on the next set of tyres that he puts on. Here is George Roque and Felix Santo coming into turn 7, and you could just see that was going to happen. And Roque is spun for, I believe that is the 3rd time this race in just 16 laps. And, well, it's been a pretty horrendous race for Roque there, as he rejoins, but he'll be back in 18th, which seems to be his favourite spot so far in this race. Santo gets away without any damage or any harm done. As you look at the 2 Red Bulls here of Miklos Gau and Florian Volker right behind each other, they come into the 2 right-handers into turn 7, as they now head into turn 9. And as we come round, and oh, there's contact, and both Red Bulls are off. Gal goes way off into the gravel there, and Volker will take the lead of this race. Oh my goodness me, what is Christian Horner going to think about that? And Volker has made contact with Gal, and Gal has dropped down into 2nd place. And Adam Wolf, which you can see on the bottom of your screen, is out with a suspension failure. So that is a Williams out of this race, and he was running in 14th. I believe he just made his first pit stop a few laps ago. And you can see coming onto the back straight, there it goes, and there was the suspension failure just before the pits as well. But that is Adam Wolf out of this race, having scored an impressive point in Australia. And he and his car, unfortunately, will not be getting to the end. But I suppose he can at least maybe take a selfie with the fans or something. But we need to go back to this incident with the 2 Red Bulls here. So Gal was in the lead, Volker was behind him. And let's see if we can put anyone to blame here. I mean, Gal defended. You could say Gal defended and Volker was maybe a bit too quick. I mean, you'd probably give that as a racing incident there, you have to say. But Volker really punted Gal off. He almost went right to the tyres there. But Volker takes the lead. Will that influence what happens at the end of the race? I wonder what if that has any effect in the battle that they have with Mackenzie, as he's obviously made his first stop. 18 seconds was the gap, but obviously it will be a lot less now with that incident. So this will be very interesting to see come the end of the race. And there's another car off at turn 7, Sean Grant this time. And was there contact made? No, there wasn't. It was by himself, and he spins around on his own. And that is another, I don't know how many times there's been cars. I think it must have been like the 5th or 6th time, I think, around that corner. As now Grant rejoins, and there's another car off, and that's Franco Gamba this time. And always made contact, I believe that is with Evan Byrne, Coming into turn 4, another spot of bother for many of the drivers. And Gamba was on the inside, and there was contact there, and just lifted Burn into the air. And Gamba nearly rejoined right on the path of some of the cars there. Lucky that they saw him there and didn't hit him. But for Gamba, he was having a very good race. But this will set him back, I think, a few positions from that. Not exactly what he would have wanted, but he's had an impressive start to his OC career. As we now have Waze Kuba in the pits for Ferrari, recovering after that start line incident with Robert Ionescu. And he's made a good recovery so far. He's managed to get all the way up in the top 5, so he's shown some good pace. 25 laps, so he'll have to pit. He'll have to pit one more time before the end. So he's going on the 2-stop. I think probably the 2-stop, I would say, is probably the way to go in this race, I would say. As now Kuba comes out of the pits, and we now have a car round, and that's Felix Sontag who's round again. And Roland Moisian goes past him down into turn 1, and Sontag has gone round again. Has he gone it by himself? No, he hasn't. It's Sam Thompson. Was there contact? And yes, there was. Thompson gets lifted up into the air. He keeps going, but Sontag spins around there. I mean, I don't think you could really blame anyone there. Thompson tried to turn, but obviously, unfortunately, caught the end of Sontag there, who rejoined. He only loses a couple of positions, but still, they could be important positions for the end of the race. As now here comes Florian Volker for his first stop of the Grand Prix. I imagine he'll be doing a 2-stop. I highly doubt he'll be going to the end unless he can do like a Sergio Perez or something like that. Let's see how much fuel the team put into him. And it is 20 laps, so yes, he will be going for the 2-stop. So Mackenzie obviously will be doing the 3. So we need to see when Mackenzie next comes in. I imagine it actually won't be too long, I don't think, since it came in on lap 10. So I think it'll be in the next lap or 2, I reckon, is when Mackenzie will pit. But we shall see. It was a 6.9 second stop for Volker as he comes out of the pits. As Mackenzie's there in second, and Ricky Farquharson has gone off down at turn, I believe that is turn 9. And what has happened there? I don't know if he's gone off on his own accord, but we need to have a look at the replay to see what happened there. And no, it was not by himself. It was with contact with Joseph Willows trying to recover, and it just almost the exact same thing as the Volker Gal incident there. And unfortunately for Willows, in what has been a pretty much what has been a nightmare race, it just gets even worse really. And now Mackenzie does in fact come into the pits, so it'll be interesting to see if he goes to the end. But I'm pretty sure he will have to make another stop before the end. Let's see how much the team will fuel him. And he comes into his pit stall. And he's in now, and let's have a look at the top of the screen how much fuel he puts in. And oh, as Franco Gamba's out the race, and Franco Gamba was having a very, very good race for Toro Rosso, has unfortunately retired with a puncher. That is pretty gutting for him. He had to spin with Kuba, but he was definitely on for another points finish here. And unfortunately for him, that has been taken away. And oh, that is very, very unfortunate there for the Italian, who had an impressive debut in Australia, but unfortunately he will score no points here. And he retires from the Grand Prix, and we'll obviously go back and see how much fuel that Mackenzie is putting in to his car. And let's have a look. If we go back to him, are we going to have a look? And it is 19 laps, so he will make another stop. So 19 laps, he'll have to absolutely nail this this stint. And now Felix Sontag has gone round again. How many times has he gone round this race? As that must have been the 3rd time. I think he's had contact, I think maybe 1 or 2 more times. So he's been involved with pretty much most drivers in the field. And that was another big spin there. Quag gets lifted up into the air. Luckily for him, doesn't get any contact, doesn't lose or have any damage, I should say. Loses front wing or whatnot. But oh my goodness me, that is not good for Quag. He gets lifted right up into the air. Lucky he didn't get any damage. Sontag doesn't get any damage either. But unfortunately for Sontag, it has been a nightmare race for him, having spun on the first lap when he made such a great start in 3rd, and it's now been pretty much spoiled. As now Miklos Gal comes in for his first stop of the race, I believe. And 29, actually, has he made 1 stop? He might have already made 1 stop, I'm not sure. And it is a... and it looks like he is going to the end, but so I'm pretty sure, as you can see, actually, yes, he has actually only made 1 stop. So this will be his only stop, and he's going to go to the end. So let's see how that compares with his teammate Volker, as Mackenzie comes across the line in 3rd. So at the moment, it's not particularly working out that well for Mackenzie, despite that incident the 2 Red Bulls had. So I don't think 3-stoppers exactly work for Mackenzie, even though he's shown very encouraging pace. As now we have another retirement, and Felix Sonntag is pulling off the track, and he is out of the race. This race has been a complete disaster. I think probably one of the worst races in his career, he will think. But it has just not been a good one whatsoever, although not necessarily all down his fault. Although I suppose the start of it was when he spun when trying to overtake Byrne, but it's just not really gone his way this race. And he retires on lap 31. So that will only leave one Mercedes to possibly score points, because we haven't actually seen where Southgate is at the moment. But let's have a look how Sonntag retired, or what problem he had, as we now go on board with him, as he came through turn 4, came through 5, and then he came through 6, the left and then the right, as he now headed towards turn 7. I believe this is probably around where he suffered the problem, or maybe even further up than that. And actually no, the problem was already there. As you can see on the top of your screen, the red light was on, so he had an issue already. And as he came round through the hairpin through turn 9, and that is where the problem took control, and you can see it's right about there. It is, and there it goes, and he pulls off the track, and Felix Sonntag will want to probably get out of this race as soon as possible, want to probably get out of the country as soon as possible, and get on the next flight to Shanghai, where the next Grand Prix is, the Chinese Grand Prix will be, and probably quickly forget about this one. Not been his day at all, and he'll hope to do better in the next round. And you can see it was actually a loose wheel that was the problem that Sonntag had, and he pulled off and went into the barrier, probably in frustration. The car has failed on him, and that is Felix Sonntag out of this Grand Prix on lap 31. As we now look at the McLaren, at Joseph Willows, who's right behind Sam Thompson, the former McLaren driver, I should say. And now Willows tries to make a move on Thompson, but you can just see that's just clearly never going to work. And Willows, does he go around or does he save it? No, he actually saves it. That's a pretty impressive save there from Willows. Good car control there from him. But you could just see that that crash was going to happen. And Willows does very well of controlling the car. Does a nice save there. Puts his steering wheel all the way to one side and controls it very well. These guys are quite talented, hence why they're in a Formula 1 car. But that was a good save indeed from Willows. And now that is a car out, and that's Ollie Glazebrook, who's out the race for Caterham. And that is unfortunate for him. He actually hadn't made a stop yet. He was still going to go for another 8 laps. So he still hadn't made a stop, and he was running in P10. But he was on a really racing on his own, you could say. And unfortunately for car number 45, he retires on the race with a transmission failure, just coming on to the back straight. It was an encouraging debut for Glazebrook, but unfortunately he will not get another finish here at the Malaysian Grand Prix, and he will be out, and he is out of this race. As now he is Joseph Willows, who is now about to attack Thompson for 13th place. He'll be pinning this lap, so it's kind of in a difficult situation for Willows here. And oh no, and he's just taken out Thompson quite heftily there. He needed to pit, and he was like, okay, I'll just turn into Thompson to get that way. And he's just taken himself and Thompson out of the race. It's been an absolute disaster for Willows, and unfortunately for Sam Thompson, he got caught up in that. It's just not been Willows' day, and he is out of the Grand Prix. He will need to forget about that. As you can see actually on the screen right now, you can see the rain is actually now beginning to fall on the track, so we'll see how quickly this track will get wet, as Mackenzie, who's still got a while back to go until he pits. But we'll have a look at the incident once again. But Willows needed to pit. He should have tried to go maybe the other side of Thompson. It would have helped, made it a bit easier for him to go in the pits. But unfortunately for him, he just decided, I'll just steer into Thompson. He steered into Thompson there. He pretty much just had nowhere to go to get into the pits. But he should have just waited another lap if it was really the case. But that was just not very good driving from Willows at all. Just not very good at all. A 3-time world champion, and he does that. And that is very, very poor from him indeed. As now we look at the Renault here of George Roke, who's attacking Armar Carr, coming into the end of the first right-hander, turn 1, and he makes it stick this time. He actually avoids contact with Carr, and he makes the move stick comfortably there. As we now look at Volker making his final stop of the race, it'll be interesting to see where Gal is out on track, but I believe it will be pretty close between the two. So I think Volker will probably catch Gal, as Gal will be on old tyres. So where is Gal on track? That'll be interesting to see. It's a 6.8 8-second stop for Volker. So where is Gal? We need to find out where he is. And is he going to come out and hurt? And actually there is, as you know, that wasn't him. As you know, that was Gal, sorry. And that was Gal just going into turn 1, and Mackenzie as well going into turn 1 behind, as George Rose made contact there. And he's made contact with the Virgin there. I believe that was of Zachary Fitzwater. And that's, I don't know how many cars that George Rose collided with. That must have been about the 4th one. That was a nice spin though, and a nice bit of control there. But still, that doesn't derive from the fact that Rogue's been involved in a number of collisions so far this race. You could say Fitzwater maybe forced him out a little bit, you could say maybe. But, I mean, that was kind of unfortunate there, collision, but Fitzwater rejoins. Roke does gain the position, although very ruthlessly indeed. Now here we are looking at Jay McKenzie, who's right now running in P2. He'll be pinning this lap, but he's now going to overtake Miklos Gal, and Volker behind will want him to do that if he wants to catch up to him. And McKenzie does in fact make the move, stick side by side, nearly contact, but McKenzie does, and there is Volker. He's already caught up now, and looks like Florian Volker could take the lead soon. We need to hope they don't have another collision, but Volker is in the ascendancy here. He's got the advantage. He's got the much fresher tyres. He's got 12 laps to make a move if he really, really wanted to. We'll see if there's any team orders here, because you probably think maybe Volker might have priority since he is the champion. And as we look at Waze Cooper in the pits at the moment, he's recovered quite well. Looks like he might get some points in this race. A 6.9 second stop for the Congolese driver, as he now comes out of the pits, and obviously, as we know, he is the first Congolese driver in the series. He decided to represent Congo, as that was his original country of birth. As now there's Moitian coming down the straight in 7th place. At the moment, the rain is still coming down, but the track is still looking pretty dry at the moment. But now here is Volker, who is right behind Gal, and is he going to make the move stick? Gal doesn't really defend, because he pretty much, well, I mean, he wouldn't be able to anyway for much longer, even though they've got the same amount of fuel. He's got fresher tyres, Volker, and he takes the lead of the Grand Prix, and Florian Volker could have the race win in the bag here, unless Gal tries to attack him or has something else up his sleeve, but I don't think he'll be able to do anything about this at the moment, as Mackenzie comes in for his final stops. Unfortunately for him, the 3-stop strategy didn't work out particularly well for Lotus, but it looks like he'll probably still get a podium, because Evan Byrne has been pretty much invisible this race. We haven't really seen him at all so far in the Grand Prix, as I said, at all really. So it looks like Mackenzie will come out in P3 unless there are any other problems, and he comes out in clear air. And Evan Byrne still hasn't got down the front straight yet. As you can see, the track has got very, very wet, but no car has, I think, pitted for wet tyres yet, so they think there's probably no point doing it for the end, as now George Roke makes a move on De Rossa for 8th place, the last point spot. So he has recovered actually quite well, and Waze Cooper has in front, and I believe Southgate's in the points as well. So it's been very impressive recovery from all sides. As we now look at the Sauber here of, I believe this is Rivki Farkestein, who is battling with Armar Khan and Roman Quark, who's right behind him, as they come down, heading towards through turn 3 and now heading towards turn 4. And is Farkestein going to make a move on Carr? He's side by side. Is there going to be any contact? Farkestein's on the inside, and he made his stick. His car's actually gone wide, and he's dropped down to 12th. Is he going to lose another position? He loses it to the Renault, but that's not a position. But now he does lose it in fact to Quark, who sneaks through there after Mackenzie came through, trying to lap these guys. Car just goes way wide there. And unfortunately for Carr, after that collision with Roke, it's really affected his race quite badly. He's just not had the best start of the season himself either, really. But as we look at De Rossa, who has, I believe, actually been overtaken there by the Renault, by the Williams there, has overtaken the Williams, I should say, Moitian, as Volker is struggling to get through traffic here, as De Rossa actually now does get past the Williams there of Moitian. So I was wrong, actually. I thought De Rossa had already got past for some reason. I don't know why, but no, De Rossa has now actually overtaken Moitian for 8th place for the last spot, and it's still actually quite close between the two. But here is your race leader, Florian Volker, who will have words spoken to him at the end of the race after that collision with Miklos Gal. But I think even if they hadn't had that collision, I think he probably would have won this race. Well, I mean, it might have been close, but I think he may have probably won the race anyway, just by the fact that he was on fresher tyres at the end, and he came out behind Volker. But I think it probably would have been closer had they not had that collision. But Volker clearly has the pace over his teammate Gal, and you can see at the moment the gap is 7 seconds. I think it would have been around probably maybe 2 or 3 at the end of the race, I think, as if the guys were deciding to battle. So I think without that collision, this could have been quite close, and you could say that was maybe the deciding factor in who won the race. But for Florian Volker, it won't matter to him at all. He is set to take his second consecutive victory, make it 2 out of 2, but also make it a Red Bull 1 and 2, the perfect start to the season that they would have wanted, as Volker now comes through the hairpin of turn 9. He comes through turn 10 and through 11, as he now comes through the next couple of corners, 13, 12, 13 and 14. And Volker comes through 12 into 13. As you can see, the dry line has actually now appeared, so even despite the rain that seems to be coming down, the track isn't really getting very wet at all. But that won't matter at all for Florian Volker as he comes down the back straight for the final time. He was involved in a long race battle with Gal and Mackenzie, but Florian Volker has ultimately come out on top, and he comes round the final corner under the front straight. Florian Volker takes his second victory of the season. Congratulations to him, and it will be a Red Bull 1-2 as De Rossa is set to come home in 8th place and take the last point spot, as Gal is right behind him as they come across the line, and 9th place will be Moyton, who just misses out there. As now Zachary Fitzwater comes across the line in 10th place. Apologies for that voice crack. As he comes across the line in 10th place. It's been a very impressive race from Fitzwater. Now, he might have been a bit closer to, I suppose, De Rossa and Moyton had he not had that collision with Rogue. But Jay Mackenzie is set to come home and take 3rd place and take a very impressive podium for Lotus. So well under him. As now Ricky Parker is going to come home in 11th place, I should say. That's not the race that he would have wanted at all. Evan Byrne comes across the line in 4th. Roman Quagg comes home in 12th. Almar Carr will want to forget about this one in 13th. Sean Grant set to come home in 14th for Virgin, as he comes across, or Mauricio as they're known now, but you can call them Mauricio Virgin, whatever you like. As now Alex Southgate has recovered to 5th place despite that collision on the first lap with Robbie Inescu. That is a very good race for him. And Waze Kuba, despite all his incidents he had during the race, he will come home in 6th place on his own, really. But that's still, nonetheless, a pretty impressive recovery there from the Congolese driver as he comes round the final corner. He'll take 6th place, and he'll take some points at least for Ferrari in what has been a pretty much disastrous race. And George Roque, despite the numerous collisions that he had, is set to come home in a point-scoring position. He will come home in 7th place. Another good recovery from him. So quite a few good recoveries so far. It makes you think what the race would have been like if Kuba and Roque hadn't had those various collisions and whatnot that happened early in the race. But anyway, here is the full race results. Florian Volker wins with Gal in 2nd, Mackenzie in 3rd, Byrne in 4th, Southgate 5th, Kuba 7th, and Kuba 6th, Roque 7th, and De Rossa in 8th. With the following drivers a lap down: De Rossa, Moyton, Fitzwater, Parkrazane, Quagg, Carr, Grant, Willows, Thompson, Glazebrook, Sontag, Gamba, Wolf, Inescu, and Holst. And obviously the following drivers from Willows all retired from the Grand Prix, as you can see. So we'll now see the fastest lap of the race, which was set by Volker, with the 2 Lotuses, interestingly enough, 2nd and 3rd, which shows the pace that they had during the Grand Prix. Southgate in 4th, Gal in 5th, Gamba 6th, very impressive from him. Kuba in 7th, the Willows in 8th, Byrne 9th, Farquharson 10th, Sontag 11th, Moyton, De Rossa, Wolf, Grant, Quagg, Fitzwater, Carr, Thompson, Glazebrook, Holst, and Inescu didn't set the lap times. They got as they both retired on the first lap of the race. So here are the driver standings after Malaysia. Volker with 2 wins on the belt has 20 points. Gal 2nd on 12. Southgate 3rd at the moment on 10. Holst 4th with 8. Mackenzie 5th with 6. Sontag 6th with 5. Same with Evan Byrne 7th with 5. De Rossa 8th with 4. Kuba 9th with 3. With Gamba and Roque 10th and 11th on 2 points. And Wolf on 1 point. With Roland Moyton, Ricky Farquharson, Zachary Fitzwater, Sam Thompson, Almar Carr, Roman Quagg, Joseph Willows, Sean Grant, Oliver Glazebrook, and Robbie Inescu on 0 points. In the Constructors' Championship, Red Bull already have a 17-point lead over Mercedes, who are ahead of McLaren at the moment by 2 points in 3rd. Lotus in 4th with 8. 5th, Force India with 4, 6th Ferrari with 3. That's a very disappointing start for them. Taurus is 7th with 2, Williams with 1 point in 8th, Sauber, Mercia, and Caterham, of course, with no points on the board. Well, that has been the Malaysian Grand Prix. That was certainly a good race. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Don't forget to, as usual, vote for your driver of the day and give the race a rating out of 10. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and we will see you for the next round, the Chinese Grand Prix at Shanghai. Thanks for watching, and see you there.